Can we call the City of Cupertino Public Safety Commission meeting to order and open? We're starting roll call.
Chair, I'll do the roll call. Here. Commissioner Evans. Here. Commissioner Doss. Vice Chair Rajwa.
Here.
And Chair Toda.
Here.
There are 3 present, 1 absent. We do have a quorum.
Super. Next item is the approval of minutes. I hope you guys had a chance to review the minutes from November. Discussions on that? None? Can I get a motion to approve the November minutes?
Yeah, motion to approve the minutes from November 14th.
Second. Roll call.
Roll call vote. Commissioner Evans.
Yes.
Chair Doss. Vice Chair Rajwa.
Yes.
Chair Toda.
Yes.
Motion passes with 3 yeses and 1 absent.
Any items for postponements?
There are no postponements from staff.
Okay. I do have a request for 2 items for oral communication.
I'm saying paper, there's oral and number 3.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm trying to say paper, I put it in for oral and number 3.
Item number 3. Okay.
No, and oral,
And oral.
yes. I can fill out the second card if you want.
Yeah, perfectly fine. We can maximize our resources here. And so this portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the commission on any matter within the jurisdiction of the commission and not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. In most cases, state law will prohibit the commission from making any decisions with respect to a matter not on the agenda. Ms. Rhoda Fry.
Hi, good evening. I found out about this meeting just about a half hour ago. So I did email you with some notes that I'd actually presented to city council back in 2019. So in 2009, the most recent, it's called the Wildland Urban Interface Area map. And the most recent one I was able to find was from 2009. And so what that is that when you've got wildland, like, you know, the hills around here and you've got houses, that's called the interface. And so those are fire unsafety areas. And, you know, I think about what's happening in Altadena right now with the hillsides burning up. I get that, right? But it's just swept into the flats and it is horrific, right? And so we actually do have a corner of Cupertino that is considered in a very high zone. Meanwhile, in 2017, there was a study and it was it's like about 20 pages. And it was called Santa Clara County Community Wildfire Protection Plan. That was back in 2017. And so I went to council and I actually asked questions about that. It's like, hey, has any of this been implemented, right? I pay taxes for this. I don't know whether the city paid taxes or the county paid taxes, regardless of city taxpayers paid for this study. What happened, right? And I said, you know, they're saying, oh yeah, in 2030, we're going to want to get rid of the shake roofs. And I thought, I didn't think that was very, you know, as aggressive as I would like it to be. And I was planning, not realizing the meeting was today and I didn't get to it. I was thinking about actually driving around the hills today. You know, I remember like up by Regnat Road and all those areas. How many of those houses are actually defensible? Because if they're not, right, they're causing risk to all of us, the entire community. The other thing that I talked with John about briefly when I came in today was I was very dismayed to see that the Valco project was tying itself to antiquated building codes because they put in their ideas early on. And what's happened with the building code since then is there's been a lot of changes in the ball assemblies and in chases and things like that that provide fire safety. I'm gratified to hear that that the fire department is somewhat independent in their requirements with Cupertino. So Cupertino can't say, hey guys, you can go with the old code, but it's scary. And I know that you guys are going to do due diligence, but it makes it very impractical. Another thing, for example, the building codes has changed, public safety, right, is decks. You remember the deck failure that they had in Berkeley years ago. 2 revs since then. So they're on 1 rev, right? Then the next rev, they improved the deck assembly so they won't collapse. A rev after that, they did another deck assembly fix. So these things continue to progress. That's also public safety. I hope that fire, they might be involved in that. Another thing I talked about, you'll have this in your emails, an email that I sent in April of 2019 regarding assemblies and regarding about having products like a rock wool product for insulation. And I guess I'm running out of time. You'll see this, but you can see we had Santana Road, Mission Bay, Oakland, all these things were burnt down here locally, also San Francisco, London, Shanghai. If we had those assemblies, we wouldn't have these really terrible fires. We got to do something about it. Look what's happening in LA. Let's save money, right? And lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Any other public comment?
Sure.
Minute to 3 minutes to items not on the agenda.
Yeah, I think it'll be less than 3 minutes. I'm Lloyd Dickman. The two reasons to be here. One, I put an application in to fill a vacant position on the commission. And I thought I'd come to a commission meeting and see what it is. So that's just informational. But one issue, and I don't know if this is police or other concerns, but there's just a lot of red light runners around. In fact, just the other day, was walking over to the library, crossing De Anza Boulevard, and I think there were 4 of us in the crosswalk and 3 cars were going through the red light. So I don't know what the answer is, whether it's a police presence, whether it's cameras, whether it's changing the time on the traffic lights. But certainly there's a lot of impatient drivers there, and certainly, wouldn't want to have a property accident, certainly wouldn't want to have anybody injured. So just calling that as a matter of concern, and if there are any thoughts down the road in terms of how to deal with it, I'd appreciate it. So.
Thank you.
Sure.
That closes, that ends public or oral communications.
Let's move on to written communications. First is the old business. I think the only thing.
Sorry, Chair.
Yes.
We do have 2 written communications you should have received in your email.
Okay.
I will put them on the screen just for reference. We received these via email again the other day about it's on the screen. And they will be posted to the website.
And I did respond by forwarding it to the bicycle pedestrian committee, since these are items of interest to most guys. It deals with crosswalk safety at Torrey.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
I received a written communication as well. You guys may have gotten this. Should we talk about that now or later?
Well, so written communications are just informative for you. It's not on our agenda. We won't talk in detail about those items, but again,
Okay. I was gonna bring it up at the end of the meeting, but we can bring it up now later. You think makes sense?
we received a direct.
The same email.
It was similar to those emails, but it was from a local high school student.
Yeah,
Who had a
okay.
similar concern. We all got it.
We got that.
So we should discuss that at some point during the meeting.
What I typically,
Okay, sorry to interrupt. We can only discuss the items that are on the agenda. So you received an email in December, right? That is not considered written communications for this meeting.
okay.
We could discuss during the commissioner's session about what we can do in that session. But again, we won't talk about the item in particular in detail.
That's fine.
One thing of note, I had a mental lapse, I'm sorry, but during the postponements, I should have deferred to the captain here who would like to introduce 2 individuals that are sitting in the room.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioner. So start of January, we do a lot of shift changes and a lot of people retire. Some people move on to different assignments, and part of this end of December of last year, our undersheriff, Ken Binder retired, promoting undersheriff, Dalia Rodriguez, and also moving, Assistant Sheriff Rich Urena to support services. Now I have Assistant Sheriff Adam Oberdorfer overseeing the enforcement, which is my direct boss essentially. Lieutenant Hemion, our previous watch commander during this time, who I've introduced before when he first started working here, has moved on to our professional standards unit, and now is manning that division as and And then now Captain Jones, who was my former assistant division commander, is promoted to captain. He's been moved over to special enforcement division. So I want to introduce my new assistant division commander, Lieutenant Sean Flores, and our new watch commander, who is going to be handling Wednesday through Sunday, Vega, Lieutenant Vega. So, Sean, if you want to just give a production.
Hello, everyone. I've been on sheriff's office about 18 years now. Actually, I did all my patrol time over here in West Valley. I did 5 years as a deputy, 2 years as a sergeant. I just got promoted to lieutenant last year. It was my first full year, so I came from our regional auto theft task force, where I was the task force commander over there. And now I'm over here being the assistant division commander with Captain Valenzuela. So looking forward to it. I always enjoyed my time doing my patrol time over here, and when the opportunity presented itself to come back, I jumped at it. So appreciate it. And I look forward to working with all of you guys.
Lieutenant Vega.
Yeah, and so just like Lieutenant Flores, I'm Lieutenant Jason Vega. I spent the entirety of my patrol time out here in Cupertino in the West Valley, so it does have a special place in my heart. Prior to my assignment here, I was a sergeant in the robbery and homicide unit for our investigations bureau. Did spend a lot of time out here as well. And then I've been with the sheriff's office since 2014. And then prior to that, I did work with Tom and Black here as an EMS duty chief. It did spend a lot of time out in this area as well. So I'm very familiar with the demographics, the layout of Cupertino specifically. And I look forward to working with you guys.
Thank you. And just another thing that want to throw in that, Lieutenant Flores was actually one of our supervisors here before he was promoted to a lieutenant, and Lieutenant Vega was actually, before going to robbery homicide, he was actually one of our burglary detectives here in Cupertino as well. So they've spent a lot of time here in Cupertino, and I'm glad to have both of them back. For you guys, if you want to take off.
And I thank you, Chair and Commission, for entertaining, and excuse me, members of the public as well, for entertaining this little unorthodox mental lab today. To introduce these guys and allow them to go back on patrol. So thank you.
Thank you.
Are we ready to go on to the staff commission reports?
Old business.
Oh, sorry, public safety, old business. So any updates on the public safety is that we have a tentative date and time. It will be March 22nd from 12 to 4 p.m. And it will be located in the square in front of the community center, the city hall square there.
Sure, if you allow me to do a little bit more
Please.
background. For many of our agendas, or frankly, all of our agendas include this item as a planning and update measure to the commission itself for the public safety forum. In years past, we've had a joint public safety forum and informational session that included both public safety officials like our fire department, sheriff's office, but also partners. And we brought in for heavy informational distribution to the community, but also at the same time having a public safety fair. This year, in order to focus our attention on the information and have a little bit more of an intimate session, we held a fireside chat with the assistant fire chief as a keynote, and then a facilitated discussion amongst the sheriff's office, fire department, and myself. We decided to separate out the fair component into a springtime event to have multiple events a year, not just focused on one time and a one-hit wonder, but have 2 times a year. And as the chair mentioned, we've settled on a date in March 22nd. It's a Saturday in the morning. We'll be looking at the Civic Center Plaza to have a public safety fair. It's really a continuation of the forum, and allow the community to come together in front of the library on a Saturday, hopefully to partner a different audience, maybe more participation from youth, and really to put the services out there that are available to the community on March 22nd. Chair, would you like to talk about who is organizing?
Sure.
The event?
We've taken a little different approach to it since it's a major undertaking. We've asked a youth has volunteered to run this and coordinate this. And so she's devoting all of her time to actually recruiting people at lower level managers to help her. And she's doing this as an Eagle Service project. So typically Eagle Service projects can be anywhere from 100 to 300 hours of service. So we'll see how many hours of service, but rather than having a public safety forum, which lasts only like an hour, and I know the fire department and the sheriff's office has assembled their tables and stuff, but it's very short because we jump right into the forum. This time, we'll have several hours that they can devote to it and expand upon it. And we've been limited in size. And I think we're planning to have in excess of 20 exhibitors up to 40, whatever the plaza can accommodate. So I think it's going to be a very exciting one. I know the flyers and everything are being currently made. And we're just going to start inviting people interested in the health and safety in the area that are nonprofits. And
And then one last little update to that is just to say that the Eagle Scout candidate approached us to take on this role. So if you're familiar with the Eagle Scout process, that's really led. So they really have taken on the lion's share of the planning with both Chair Toda and myself as guiding elements in it. Of course, I will help shepherd the city side.
and we will get, I think, by an update status every other week is
Yeah.
what I heard from Susanna. So it will be really exciting to really have a broadened public safety fair. I think I've seen the other cities like San Carlos and San Leandro and other areas that have a half a day fair, and it seems to be pretty exciting stuff with a lot of folks. I don't know if our fair is open to quote unquote entertainment, but there may be some groups that wish to entertain as a service, like the type of groups, choirs and stuff. You guys have any ideas or comments on that?
Think about it. Entertainment ideas, yeah.
Well, if you have ideas for groups you'd like to participate, we can pass that on to Susanna. For example, one of the things that I made a contact with the DEA, and they have pop-up and different informational things for youth regarding different illicit drugs and prevention. I think a while ago, we had a presentation from the suicide form. That might be interesting to ask your group to come back. Same thing for the wildfire initiative. I think in the past, we've had that as a booth for presentation.
And I will note that we have one more Public Safety Commission meeting scheduled in March, one of our regular meetings ahead of the scheduled fair. So I imagine that Susanna would like to present to you during this item on that day. So you have a final update.
I guess, is there a motion to receive the?
Well, first, well, I guess you could motion, so a little bit unorthodox, we don't have a lot of.
There's no rhythm.
We don't generally have a lot of public in these meetings, so if you'd like to, you can make a motion and then, but certainly want to open the floor to the public. To make
Any comments in the public on this item?
It's like a great idea. Appreciate that.
Yeah, motion to accept the updated report.
Yeah, motion to receive the updated report on the public safety forum.
Seconded.
And for the record, that's Vice Chair Rajaram motioning and Commissioner Evans seconding. Roll call vote. Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Dallas, Vice Chair Rajaram,
Yes.
and Chair Toza.
Yes.
Motion passes with 3 ayes and 1 absent.
Okay. Since there's no other items on old business, let's move to new business. And
Sorry, there's also no new business. No staff and commission reports.
okay. So first up is the report by the Santa Clara County Fire.
Good evening. My name is John Black. I'm Battalion Chief out of Battalion 72 on B shift, presenting for Chief Estrada tonight. I got Tom, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we're doing both November and December.
We are. I have November up.
Okay. So November was a little bit of a busy month for Cupertino, with on top of our normal call volume, 4 fairly significant events that kind of made the news. Sure everybody remembers the airplane that landed on Highway 85. Thankfully, there were no injuries. The trickle down of that event was people stopping to look, which then caused a couple fairly significant car accidents. We had 2 natural gas leaks. I was the incident commander for the second one, came in as a water main break. We ended up having pressurized water and gas coming out the seams where the roadway met the gutter. We ended up responding full first alarm to that, to work with PG&E to mitigate the leak, but also to evacuate the residences in the area. It was a Sunday morning, so people were home. It was a fairly quick mitigation, given that we had to get, PG&E had to get heavy equipment in to actually dig the roadway up to stop the gas leak. The last one was the vegetation fire at Lehigh. Of a red flag warning. We had strike teams that we had pre-positioned in the county for this type of an event. So normally our hand crew is staffed Monday through Thursday during daytime hours. The crew was pre-positioned on a 24-hour prepo, which was well, it allowed me to start getting our resources released from the scene while the crew did mop up. It was a joint effort between us and CAL FIRE, as it was in the unincorporated area outside the city. But it was definitely it was a good stop. We were able to hold it to less than an acre. And if you've been up into Lehigh property, it takes a little while to get in there. And they were very helpful as far as helping get our crews through the maze of roads up in the quarry system. Looking at the response data for the month, county fire resources responded to 367 calls in the city. As usual, the bulk of those were EMS related. If you look at the table in the lower left, normally we have the Cupertino units, engine and truck 71, engine 72, and the hazmat engine 77. But with our deployment model, we had engine 76 running a couple calls into the city. And then because of how we do our move ups to make sure that we have core station coverage, you'll see units you wouldn't typically see. Engine 78 is out of our Quito station. Rescue 74 is out of Los Altos Hills. And then mutual aid other, as I mentioned, was that strike team that we had pre-positioned that helped us mitigate the fire at Lehigh. That is November. In December, only one significant call in the city, structure fire at Homestead High School. First arriving crews found a fire in a classroom held in check by a sprinkler system. Estimated that property loss was $7,000. For the month, compared to the month previous, it was a little bit slower. 311 calls for service in the city, again with the bulk of those being EMS related. And as usual, engine 71 was the busiest Cupertino unit, followed by engine 72. And truck 71 with 34. Any questions on the call volume or any of the events that I kind of touched on briefly? Some of them I can speak to as I was the incident commander. Others I don't have a whole lot more information than what's on the screen.
Yeah, I guess I had a question.
Sure.
I was curious about like the natural gas leak at the construction site in November. I was just curious like how that got like reported, like who called it in? Was it like the construction workers there who smelled something?
Unfortunately, I don't have that information. The one that was underground on the Sunday morning, I was there for that, and I can speak to that. And the aircraft coming down the freeway and the Lehigh fire, but I wasn't at that other gas leak.
Oh.
What was the weather condition like in the vegetation fires? Heard on the country.
When I was dispatched to that, it was definitely cold, but we hadn't received much rain.
Okay.
And we had enough wind where my understanding is the cause of that fire was a private power line that came down with the wind. It was windy and dry, wasn't really hot. It was quite cold that morning. Initially, it came in as an explosion and structure fire. But my guess or assumption would be it was probably a transformer that was failing. From Seven Springs, like I could see a glow, so we kind of leaned into it a little bit more and got those other resources responding quickly.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any questions from the public?
We do have one request to speak, but I apologize, just before that, I'd like to just add on as a part of the public safety infrastructure here. That pre-positioning of those extra resources is a common tactic that are not only Santa Clara County Fire takes, but many regions take when certain conditions arise. Whether it be formal red flag warning or dry conditions, and we know that relative humidity is going to be down. We often pre-position resources in that way due to the weather. From the National Weather Service forecast to some of our regional assets, PG&E as well. Repositioning of assets is a very common tactic that we take, knowing that certain conditions will arise. Go
Oh,
ahead.
yeah. I had another question. Like, I remember at the public safety forum, we heard about how like there's pretty extensive like resource sharing between like different regions and even like states and stuff. I'm curious, like, are any like local or usually local elements like assisting in the Southern California situation?
So Santa Clara County Fire Agencies have deployed 15 fire engines, 5 of those being from County Fire. We also have, doing math in my head, at the last staffing call that we had, we have 5 overhead currently attached, so we'll have strike teams that go down, that's fire engines with bosses. And then a lot of our chiefs and captains are qualified to run portions of that incident as part of the incident management team. So we've sent those folks down as well. I don't know if any more of us are gonna be going, but it's pretty common. I was in LA for 3 weeks earlier this year, as part of an overhead team, and I was in Chico about 2 weeks before that, doing the same thing. The mutual aid system in California is pretty robust. And I think as you'll see, on social media and then in the news, there's crews on the way to Southern California from all over the nation, including private contractors that are also coming to help.
I'll add on that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but the Santa Clara County Fire District serves as the region coordinator for fire assets, right?
Well, we're the operator coordinator and we're starting to transition to the Region 2 coordination. I believe that's formalized. Not 100%, pretty sure it's formalized.
What that means is that not only the operational area, so all Santa Clara County fire agencies, such as Santa Fe Fire, Santa Clara City Fire, Mountain View Fire, they all work in coordination with Santa Clara County to deploy assets. And as they elevate to the region, they'll not only take on this operational area, Santa Clara County, but also coordinate amongst multiple operational areas in the region, including San Francisco, San Mateo County, Alameda County, and so forth. Many others as well. As the Chief mentioned, the mutual aid system in California is robust. And many other states have built their systems off the California systems.
If you remember what happened at the public safety forum during the presentation, there was impressive mobile command center that also displayed on the art.
That wasn't this last year, it was the year before.
Oh, was it? Time flies when you're having fun.
Public safety forum, we had the mobile command unit from Cal OES on display in the parking lot to the south, to the west here.
But I thought there was some also in the PowerPoint presentation
Or
from.
maybe.
Yeah. Okay,
Oral communication.
any other
Public comment?
I guess, Yeah, so as we know, the city of Cupertino is facing some budgetary issues. And in the past, we had, I would say, more money than we knew to deal with. Because we were spending a lot and we were also even saving some while we were doing it. And so I'd like to see, if possible, a little bit more granularity about the source of our expenses as it pertains to fire and also the sheriff's department. Because I have to wonder how much stuff comes as a result of single residences, we pay property taxes, and how much stuff comes from businesses. And of course, they pay property taxes as well. However, there is unlike a number of other cities in the region, we don't have a head tax for the business licenses. And, you know, we're not getting embarrassment of riches from Apple anymore. And so if we could get us figure out where it is every question is everybody paying their own fair share? So because I would like to see us move toward that, toward a, you know, a head tax and to be able to justify it. So that's number one. Number two, I do appreciate seeing the issue about the Lehigh fire. And I will be asking for more of a report. There is a history of their on-site fire water tank failing at least twice. That isn't a public record. Lehigh has also failed to make reports to the state offices of emergency services. I have followed up with county with the DEH number of times, month after month after month, and they wouldn't fix it. And I'm like, because the data is not present. We can't see the data because it wasn't reported, and that's a problem. We can't see that their systems are failing by looking at this office of emergency services. That's an issue, and then I'd like to see that addressed. The other thing with Lehigh is that there is a history of fires up there, a history of deliberately set fires, and this comes from the fire department. They said, "Oh, was it arson?" They said, "No, deliberately set." Okay, and the other thing is that I've been going back trying to get a report on in the late 80s. I watched it burn from the roof of my house. And somehow, oh, we can't find it. Oh, there's no report. You'd have to come in to get the report. Oh, we can't find the report. So there was never a report. And it was a big fire. There was hazmat involved. And frankly, I would like to see those reports from back in the 80s. And you know, now we have this thing recently. Sounds like you're saying it was, you know, potentially a private transformer, but the question is like, okay, so now are they going through the entire system and making sure that everything's safe there? Because it puts all of us at risk.
Thank you. Time has expired. Here.
Should have clocked it. There's no.
I tried
clock
to, I know, we're not used to this, actually. I appreciate your involvement. Thank you. I tried to.
Well, that's because I was looking at Sean here. I apologize.
Any
There are
other,
no other public comment requests?
any other questions for Chief Plank? Then could I get a motion to accept the report from the Santa Clara Fire District?
Yes, motion to receive a report by Santa Clara County Fire District.
Second.
For the record, that's Commissioner Evans, motioning to accept the report by the Santa Clara County Fire District and Vice Chair Rajaram seconding the roll call vote. Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Doss, Vice Chair Rajaram, Chair Toasta. Motion passes with 3 ayes and 1 absent.
Okay, let's, next item is the report by the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office, Captain Valenzuela.
All right.
Oh, and congratulations on the Safeway bus.
That yeah, thing got so much traction. Our PIO had said that it had broadcasted in like 12 different states. It was on TikTok, every social media. Just it went viral.
My wife shops there every week, so it was just her.
I'm not sure if did you get the December report? Okay, excellent. We have a very dedicated analyst who has been on vacation. I was not sure if she was gonna be able to get this done in time, but she did. This wraps up the entire year, as you can see here. A little not disappointed, but it is what it is. Our average time for priority one calls. I think I've explained over the course of the year, these missing 17-year-old kids that have been gone for 2 weeks or have been gone for a certain amount of time are being classified as priority one calls. And I need to meet with county communications because their protocol is missing juvenile as a priority one call. And so that puts our crunch time to 5 minutes, but when the call comes out of the radio, it doesn't seem like a very urgent matter sometimes for our deputies to drop what they're doing and go to it. So I'll be meeting with county communications regarding that issue. So we missed about a minute and 56 seconds, but as you can see, our priority two calls are stellar. With the average time of 9 minutes and we made it under 6 minutes and 18 seconds. And the same thing with priority three calls. With our response time being 20 minutes, we were able to get it right under 7 minutes. So for the average time total, so. Those are for our response times. Going down to our other issue here, the residential burglaries. We did get 10 more than we did the previous year when it comes to residential burglaries. I will say this, that we have quite a large presence of these occurring in our, what we call our Rancho Rinconada or Old Rancho, or our area, which is the southeast corner of Cupertino. And they're not by themselves being targeted as well. Well, unfortunately, the San Jose portion south of Bollinger, Blaney, between Prospect and Bollinger, also getting hit pretty heavily with residential burglaries. The good thing is our detectives are working in San Jose Police Department. We have identified a group of individuals, and we may be able to solve a lot of these residential burglaries that are occurring in that pocket. Once we have more information, we have an actual arrest, we will be able to publicize that, and we'll let you guys can see that once they do that. We did have a residential burglary back in November, one of the 10 there, where our canine officer responded to that residential burglary. The individual was trying to take a camera off the side of the house, and in the meantime was recording his face pretty well. So the diligent canine officer, while we were sitting in his office going through some of the what we call track flyers or APBs, where other agencies will broadcast things to say, hey, do you know this person? Does anybody recognize this individual? Was going through some of this, found a track flyer very similar to this individual out of a theft out of Sunnyvale. So was able to identify the suspects and was able to obtain a warrant for the residential burglary. So good job by that canine deputy in solving that residential burglary. So even though the numbers are high, like I said, we are able to get a good solvability rate in some of these burglaries. And then, as you can see, commercial burglary went down pretty good. I think the word's getting around that Target and Safeway are no longer safe places to shoplift. So we do have a lot of resources being thrown in there with our task forces that are preventing commercial burglaries. So vehicle burglary, again, we did have a couple, but I did tell Tom know about several incidents, especially one in November where we did make an arrest on 2 individuals who were breaking into cars. So some of those 11 were solved with an arrest. So there goes some of the other numbers that you can see. We got auto theft, we got 29, which is a good drop from the previous year. Vandalism, 58, which is a good drop from the previous year. Still have to work on identity theft and forgery and fraud. These are things that unfortunately scams are just coming along and people are falling for scams, and we just need to probably do more public awareness on some of these scams so that people don't fall for some of these things. So
Question about the scams while we're there. These could be sourced from anywhere, right? It's not like scams that are originating in Cupertino. Is that true?
it's where the victims reside. So yeah, but scams are from anywhere. So the way identity theft works is it's where the victim resides. That's where the crime technically occurs.
Yeah, speaking anecdotally, I get these like text, we probably all get these text messages.
Oh, yes.
Oh, hey, Bill, and
Yeah, we had a couple in Saratoga and where people were calling saying, hey, we're for the sheriff's office, you got a couple warrants. You can get them to go away with some Apple gift cards or something like that. Some people fell for some of those things.
I got several from Fast Track.
Yes, the fast track ticket, the citations keep going up. We always encourage people, go on fast track. You can actually check your license plate and it'll tell you if you have any tickets on there. You want to pay them off. Anyway, so yeah, we'll probably incorporate that more with our neighborhood watch groups when we do go out and talk to neighborhoods and throw in some more of these other issues that are more prevalent, like identity theft, forgery and fraud. So.
Sorry to just jump in as well, but I just wanted, for the record and for the community, correct me if I'm wrong, Cap, but law enforcement will not ask for gift cards to pay for tickets.
Yes, we did put something out saying law enforcement will never ask for gift cards, or even ask you for any kind of money at all, period. We're not gonna call you about your warrant. The only time if we are gonna call you about your warrant, we're gonna tell you to turn yourself in, not to just warrant, so.
If you wish to avoid jail time, please.
Yeah, we're not gonna ask you to go to Target and get any gift cards at all, so. So that's where we ended up, with the report there, with all the crimes for the year. Overall, again, still not so happy with the residential burglary numbers. We were able to get them to go down in a lot of areas, but, hopefully now with the installation of these ALPR cameras, that might also bring those numbers down as well too. This is all regarding patrol units and moving citations, speeding citations, regarding in Cupertino. As you can see, we ended up with 193 moving violations, which we're getting that number up. Speeding citations were 69. Other citations, we got 863 total. And this is just strictly our patrol units. So the number you'll see next is our traffic units. These are the traffic units. They're a little bit more aggressive. As you can see, they ended with 1,552 moving violations, 570 speeding citations, and 1,272 other citations. No DUIs. Usually they work during the daytime, so it's sometimes a little hard to get a daytime DUI. Not that they're not out there, they're just a little more difficult sometimes. Accidents, we ended about 50, 220 property damage accidents and 2 accidents with DUIs. So this is just the traffic numbers combined with the regular patrol deputies out there. So you can see that's a pretty good number of citations. We did focus a lot on targeted enforcement. There was a lot of targeted enforcement this last year regarding pedestrian safety, red light runners, stop runners, but so we have a good traffic team, and this year, my new traffic team that I got is some veterans that have previously worked traffic units. So they're out there every single day, and we're gonna start hammering some of these targeted enforcements. So focusing on intersections where, there's complaints, but vehicles not yielding to pedestrians, or red lights or speeding, and we're gonna be doing a lot more of that in town, so. I think that's pretty much it. That wraps it up, I think. This is just the total stats of accidents, where we ended up at, and then that's about it. So, good work by our detectives and everybody out there, and we're making sure that the messages, as you can see, if you follow up on social media, we publicize a lot of residential burglary arrests. I think our biggest deterrent is going to be to let people know this is not the place you come and shoplift in Cupertino. And we publicize a lot of those shoplifting incidents pretty widely. So I'm happy to take any questions if you guys have anything.
Yeah, just a comment. I'm really happy to see the moving violations going up. I mean, we had a comment about the red light runners. That's something that's very important to me for various reasons as well. It's impacted me directly. So there's no shortage of opportunity to catch people. So it's great to see that we're going after that. And hopefully that can eventually change the culture, because I think it's kind of a culture of, the default at a stop sign or a light is kind of just to go and turn right, rather than like stop and make sure there's not a car. There needs to be sort of a shift in the way.
I agree.
Or following a car through an intersection, that sort of thing. And that'll take time, but appreciate seeing.
And this is the place for the venue also, where people can come into us and they tell us something to us, they say, hey, this intersection is really bad for pedestrians. And this happened at the last public safety commission meeting, where a resident just came over and said, hey, this intersection is really bad. Our deputies went out there and issued like 20 citations for not yielding to pedestrians. I mean, it was pretty bad. So hopefully changes the attitude. A lot of residents that live by there. So, hopefully the word gets around that curbing behavior, right? That's what that's the goal is, traffic enforcement. So.
And I think I'll take the opportunity to add that, that with the help of the sheriff's office and our dedicated deputies on the street, Cupertino has seen a 10-year low in crime rate, overall crime rate. Certainly some crimes we have increases, but overall we have a low in crime rate. But it's the city's perspective, and I know the sheriff's office perspective, that one crime is one crime too many. So we are dedicated to improving public safety and our safety on the street. But one, Captain mentioned the ALPR automated license plate readers, which this commission recommended for adoption by council, are going to be installed this month. Hopefully by the end of this month. We're working out some timing issues, but hopefully by the end of this month. And then that will aid deputies in one tracking, essentially deterring crime, if I can speak, but also help tracking and investigations. But one crime is one crime too many, and I want to help emphasize that yes, we're in a 10-year low. I do want our residents to feel empowered to report every crime that they experience, whether it be immediately to 911 or immediate dispatch, or in cases like intersections with red light runners or pedestrians being almost hit, non-emergency line. That's that non-emergency line here in the Santa Clara Valley is 408-299-2311. So please report those incidents. So you don't have to necessarily come to a commission meeting, but we welcome our public to be here and comment and give us direct feedback, but report it so that the captain will reposition resources immediately. It doesn't have to wait at an interval for a public meeting like this to occur. So please report crimes that are occurring and help us keep this community as safe as possible.
Captain, for other jurisdictions that have ALPR systems already, what kind of reports does the sheriff's office provide?
We provide the same report, the public ed report, that we provide that, but we also do an additional report of what we call our surveillance and use policy report. It is, you know, the board of supervisors sees as a minor, violation of privacy, you know, getting your license plate wherever you're at. So, but we do have to publicize a report, where we show success stories, how many stolen cars, for example, how many guns we've located, how many missing persons we've located. And we also do report if any of our staff members violated policy. Most of the time what happens is if they don't enter a case number, we will send them a warning saying you have to enter a case number when you're querying our system. And most of the time it's just a human error. They just forgot to enter it in, or they didn't have a case number at the time, and so they can go back and re-enter a case number most of the time. So, but we do provide, like I said, that report to the board of supervisors. And
Just asking a question to see what we might be seeing in the future.
Yes. Yes. Now, it is a combined report, unfortunately, for the ALPR. So, because we have license plate readers not only in Los Altos Hills, but Saratoga. So it is a combined report of overall success. So.
Super. Any other questions?
Public comment?
Comments?
We have 3 minutes from Ms. Rutherford.
Yeah. Pursuant to my comment earlier with respect to the fire department, I'd like to see a little more granularity as to what these Cupertino residents are kind of creating and businesses are creating. So we really kind of get an idea as to the dollars and cents portion of it. Now, in the past, we did have more money allocated for the sheriff's department, and we weren't using all that money for some reason. And so now the budget has decreased in that. And so where are we at on sort of the per capita basis for sheriff's hours? Have the sheriff's hours decreased over the years on a per capita basis? They the same, increased, you know, because certainly not shrunk that budget. And so that's a concern because of course people are concerned about, you know, the specifically the residential burglaries. That was one thing. Another thing in the budget, and I'm hoping that you can address this as well, is there was talk about, you know, there is the sort of carved out Apple contract for sheriff services. And it did say in the budget that those shares are, available to the entire city. And my understanding is that those hours are allocated to Apple. And so is the rest of the city getting potentially fewer hours if we can't attract the number of hours that we need to the rest of the city, because we have earmarked hours for Apple. So are we getting all the hours that we should be getting for the sheriff's department?
Could I, yeah, Council?
Is your comment?
Yes. Yes, and sorry, yeah.
Good. Thank you. If it pleases the chair and would like us to respond. Manny?
Would you like to respond?
Sure. Yeah, so I'll try to see if I can hit your question. So, the dedicated, or what we call our Charles V deputies who work closely with Apple, but are available to the entire city. Let's not, we can, let's be honest here. Apple makes up a huge section of the population and that area, that section. So we do have two deputies that work close with Apple, but are available to respond anywhere in the city. And the reason why they work close with Apple is just to get the ins and outs of layouts of all the businesses, have access to all the businesses all throughout Apple. So they have card keys. They can go into any of the Apple campuses in town. And so that's why they work together with Apple. However, they are available to the entire city. They commonly respond to a lot of incidents, especially like on Main Street or in that area, just because they're usually around there. The way our contract works is the city purchases hours from the sheriff's office. Now, why that number has gone down over the last couple of years is very simple, is the county has cut back on our staff, or as far as unincorporated staff. So not the contract with Cupertino, but like, for example, the deputies that work Moffett Field, which is no longer necessary because there's nothing there anymore, or the deputies that work the Santa Cruz Mountains. And those are the hours that they have cut back. Now, the reason why that number has not been utilized all the way, or refunds have been issued sometimes to the city, is because we don't have those extra deputies that are also coming into the city and doing things, because we don't bill the city based upon number of deputies. We bill the cities based upon hours. And so more deputies equal more usage of hours. So our contracts are not affected by that. Our CEO, James Williams, is very, very clear that we are fulfilling our contract obligations. So the cities of Cupertino, Saratoga, and Los Altos Hills always have the appropriate staffing. Where the county, Simpson, unfortunately, we don't have the deputies 24/7 in county pockets to be available for that. So that's one of the things. So you can always see the contract that I believe it's published, Tom, or and you can see comparison to where other cities and how much they pay per capita for their police department, and we are one of the lowest per capita, or the sheriff's office contracts.
Los Hills and Saratoga, we're actually,
Forgive me. Public comment.
there's a discrepancy there, big discrepancy.
So yeah, but overall, the sheriff's office contract is much lower than what, like, for example, a resident of Santa Clara pays for their police department, or, yeah.
So,
We could talk afterwards if you'd like, that way we're not interrupting the commission, but I'm just trying to answer your questions. And so, overall, that information is published, and we did change a little bit of the contract so that we are utilizing the hours more appropriately towards the city, so.
Thank you. Any other questions for Captain? Then can I have a motion to accept the sheriff's department office report?
Yeah, motion to receive the report by the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office.
Seconded.
for the record, that is Vice Chair Rajaram motioning to receive the report by the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office, and Commissioner Evans seconding with a roll call vote. Commissioner Evans, Commissioner Doss, Vice Chair Rajaram.
Yeah.
Chair Toto.
Yes.
Passes with 3 ayes and 1 absent.
Next, report by the city of Cupertino.
Thank you. Well, I'm the city of Cupertino represented here, so I am happy to introduce to you Martha Drown. She is our block leader coordinator. She will likely be more involved in the Public Safety Commission in the future. If you'd like to introduce yourself quickly, Martha.
My name is Marta Brown. I first got into emergency management with the Red Cross from the recovery side. With the city, I do a lot of the community building, resilience, so working with the sheriff's office quite often on neighborhood watch. Presentations, speak at enough residents, as well as with fire, and the sheriff's office. Go to block parties and answer questions for residents there.
Great, thank you. And many of you are block leaders or citizen core members who often receive reach messaging. That's the raising emergency awareness of community hazards program that we have. And that's the effort for us to help perpetuate emergency information amongst the community. So having our known block leaders and citizen core members redistribute messages, official messages from the city and public safety agencies about preparedness, especially when it comes to weather hazards, which are our most common reach activation. So for instance, if we had a similar situation then that the weather patterns that Southern California faced, though we're on the eastern side of the Santa Cruz Mountains, which benefits us in a red flag warning, we would push messaging for preparedness and any forward activations through the community, through those reach messaging. So we're happy to have a lot of positive feedback from our volunteers who not only redistribute the messages, but then give Marta direct feedback on how many people they reach out to. And we're preparing a report on the annual process of activations for reach for the next meeting. So we'll have a graph ideally with some impact. You've seen those reports in the past as well. As far as the Office of Emergency Management, in the last few months, you've seen the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan being adopted. We are trying to work on the emergency operations plan for setting the foundation for our emergency response, not just for catastrophic disasters, certainly, but also for our everyday emergencies. So we're working on that process. We're looking to get a contractor on board to help us facilitate the massive undertaking it is to engage the community, engage our partners, our internal agencies, but we're looking at the opportunity to do that in the future. But we're still in the planning processes for that. The community wildfire prevention plan, I think was mentioned in public comment today. Or oral comment today. We have a draft of that. We worked in partnership with the Fire Safe Council and the County of Santa Clara in order to prepare a revision to our annex for the community wildfire prevention plan. But we are looking forward to moving that.
That was a result of the mitigation plan.
So sort of a concurrent planning process. They're somewhat related, similar projects, but not necessarily dependent upon each other. Okay. With that, the final thing that I wanted to mention, I briefly talked about it earlier, was the ALPR program, automated license plate reader. We are moving forward with installation with our the selected vendor. Policy was approved in October 1st. The final step for our while installation is prepared for. It's the sheriff's office getting their policy approved by the board of supervisors, because just as we went through our tradition and ultimately the council for adoption, certainly with respect to all the privacy concerns, want to make sure that the procedures are in place and adopted for implementation.
Adoption would be from the Santa Clara County Board. So,
yeah, that's their surveillance policy for use in Cupertino. Our installation will coincide with that ideally, because as soon as one of the cameras are installed, that starts our annual subscription that we pay and we'll pay every year for the cost. So we're trying to make sure we're maximizing our dollars, not installing something the deputies can't use until it's ready to go. So that's effectively the delay right now for some permitting and processes are following now. And with that, I open any questions.
Do we know how long the installation will take? Like, would we expect to see information coming through in the next meeting, or is this like a longer?
Oh, ideally, we would have potential use impact by the next March meeting.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll have the policy approved and adopted, and then installation. Installation shouldn't take that long. We're teeing up everything, so it can just go right in as soon as the adoption occurs.
Thanks.
I see we will have a public comment on this item as well, but I'll hold until any of the commissioners are finished.
I have
No questions, yeah.
no questions.
Just making up for lost time.
Sure.
So,
That's okay, Bree.
you know, these moving plans are useless if they're not implemented, you know, and, so we need to implement these things, and also pursuant to our, my discussion earlier with John is, when I wrote this up back, I was just reading my notes that I wrote up in 2019, I sent this to this body earlier tonight, and that is, the requirements, for instance, for fire sprinklers, residential are different in different communities within Santa Clara County, so they're not uniform, and also, you know, the unvented assemblies, roof assemblies, same thing. And I think that those are things that we really need to be looking at, particularly in Cupertino's movie zone, which is fairly small, but, you know, it's probably expanded since, you know, back in whenever it was 2016 or so, they did it. Second thing is, you might have seen my piece of alarm, which is talking about hiring a contract, getting a contract to do some work. Is this something, one, on a work plan, and two, is this any possibility to do this work in-house? We have budget issues, and time again, I've seen the city spend money on studies that go nowhere. And, you know, we have these fields of reports, and what's the point? And if we're gonna do this, is there any possibility that we can use staff time for these things? And again, is it on?
Anything else for Manager Jim? Then could I get a motion to accept the report from the OEM?
Yeah, motion to accept the report by the city.
Second, I'll second.
Thanks.
To shake it up.
I'll shake it.
Commissioner Evans motioning to receive the report by the city of Cupertino. And that's Chair Toda seconding, roll call vote. Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Fox, Vice Chair Roger.
Yeah.
Chair Toda.
Yes.
Motion passes with 3 yeses and 1 absent.
Next item is the commissioner's report. I guess Commissioner Evans, you were commenting about email.
Sure, I'll kick it off. I think we probably all received some same emails, so I can give a quick summary of some of the highlights of what I saw, and then you guys feel free to add to it if I miss anything. I had one email from a local Cupertino High School senior who was talking about the crosswalk at Phil Lane and Finch Avenue near the school. I think it's similar to a lot of intersections, has bad traffic during peak hours, people dropping off kids and things like that. But I guess it has impacted her personally. One of her friends was hit by a car at one point. And so the students got together and conducted a poll of the other students. They told me that 70% of students have been involved in or encountered a close call incident with a car, and 50%, so half the students said they feel unsafe using this crosswalk, which is pretty high numbers. So she had some requests. They had looked into potential solutions. Crossing guard. There were some difficulties with that. They had a volunteer program, but that was also difficult to maintain. And so the recommendation was to request crossing lights, which ties us to the other communication we received, and I think which Chair Toda has forwarded to maybe a more relevant commission, but I think it's worth discussing. Because it also ties into what we're moving violations, traffic enforcement. You know, people are distracted, they're in a hurry, not fully aware of their surroundings, maybe running stop signs and red lights. I think it kind of all ties together. And it's interesting that we had these communications come in over the last few weeks. It's kind of like all these data points coming together. Yeah, so that was one email, and then we had another series of emails from a couple of residents, actually right across or on the same street as City Hall. They were talking about the Torrey Avenue crossing, a couple of incidents they had there, and they one of the residents actually attached a YouTube video that he took from his car, I think, of somebody trying to cross the street at night. They were wearing dark clothing, so they were very difficult to see, and they kind of just didn't look and walked into the middle of the road. But it is a crossing area, it just isn't necessarily or distinguished. So, and they ended up also requesting crossing lights, physical barriers, speed bumps, removing vegetation and obstructions and things like that. So, yeah, I don't know if those recommendations would apply to this commission specifically, but yeah, I thought it was interesting data points from the community that we should bring up in a public safety context. So, yeah, anything to add? You guys also got those emails?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I went to high school and I didn't go to Cupertino High, but I went to Monte Vista and there's like all these like you call it like unofficial drop off and pickup spots on like the perimeter of the schools, which I think Phil Lane and Finch is kind of like the southwest kind of junction of Cupertino High. And so it has like all the makings of like that kind of like super rushing, like blinders on type traffic environment. And yeah, I thought the blinkers like make a huge difference, like near like where I live, intersection of like McClellan near De Anza College. Like there used to be this crosswalk where there was no blinkers, no signal, nothing. And like students mainly would be crossing that McClellan intersection, tons of near misses. And nowadays, like we have the blinkers are there and like such a huge improvement. So I think she mentioned like that's probably like the cost effective thing in the long run based on their research. So I assume that's probably true.
Those are great. In the past, when I've gotten those, I asked Manager Chin, what's the proper procedure we should take, especially since we have a commission specifically for bike and pedestrian safety. And if I remember correctly, you urged me to respond and say that we've acknowledged it, we've got it, and then forward it to the appropriate commission and make sure we can follow that up. So that's what I did with that letter from the Cupertino High student.
Okay.
As well as the two other letters that we recently have.
Okay.
And of course, I couldn't copy you guys on it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd be
Yes,
breaking the brown.
you're here for me, yes.
So that's why you weren't
Yeah.
copied, but I
Yeah.
would respond and copy Manager Chin as well as the Bike and Pedestrian Commission liaison, staff liaison. So it's not like we're not doing anything, but I was also wondering whether I should have recommended to those people that they should file a 311 report.
So to the members of the public, you should feel empowered to, one, respond to the members of the public, but also to make that simple recommendations like that. In addition to 311, I would say reporting these incidents to the non-emergency line in particular, especially if it's a after the fact call. Non-emergency line report will help captain use his discretion to redeploy resources immediately. Again, it doesn't have to wait until the commission meeting to address it. Now, I'm sure the captain is hearing these locations and still will likely do a targeted enforcement action out there. But again, this is at the captain's discretion. And what this commission can see in the future is reports on those enforcement actions. Especially if we do one in particular to an area that you ask us to focus on, we can certainly bring back more specified.
So the gist is refer to the Bike and Safety Commission, Bike and
I
Pedestrian.
would leave that to the chair to speak to another chair, rather than all three of you
Right.
emailing random commissioners or other commissions. I would prefer that if you are other members of the commission to respond to the member of the public as appropriate, they are your constituency. If you would like to respond,
Right.
give it to the chair directly, that's fine. A secondary, I should follow up that infrastructure changes really are the purview of the Bike Ped Commission. Their liaison is the transportation division in Public Works. They can actually make these types of recommendations and discuss that with the infrastructure in there. I will let you know on the back end, in the staff side, we talk. So your public safety official, myself, we'll speak with the transportation manager and talk about these things because they're coming up for you, they're concerned with you. I'll share what the enforcement side is doing. Any incident specific information that we're able to find, whether it's an actual hit at a intersection, both with law enforcement and EMS, but also for our enforcement actions. So we can follow up and provide the data that they'll need to help share the or data they'll use to justify the expense, but also, as you mentioned, potentially the long-term expense could be saved if we can install some safety measures.
Okay. One other item, as far as the commission report, we do have a mayor's meeting with the commission chairs later this month on the 15th. So usually I will discuss with Manager Chin what the items that we'll present. I would imagine one of those will be an update on ALPR, update on the public safety forum. But if you have some, I don't know if you have an idea on what another topic would be.
We can discuss. it
Okay.
another time.
And if you guys have some ideas, communicate directly with Manager Chin.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nothing else from me.
Any questions you want to ask?
Well, not exactly an opportunity
Oh,
on our
sorry.
agenda. So future agenda setting.
Okay, any future agenda items people would like to have proposed? None? Okay. Since there are no other items, I think we're ready for adjournment.